right, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for tuning in today. This is my summer break. Happy summer. My name is Nichelle. I'm your host for my podcast show entitled Surviving Your Journey Towards Success. And right now, I am taking a summer break, but I do release podcast episodes. This summer, I'm doing one time a month compared to before. It was two times a month during the summer. This is gearing up to get ready when I do my regular season starting in September, and that will be September the 9th. So thank you so much for joining me today. This particular podcast will be focusing on reviewing season 2, 2018 to 2019. So before I get started, I always like to say in this day, I'm thankful to the prime creator of all things, that I give thanks for the blessing and opportunity that I will use it for the greater good. So welcome my survivors of the journey to my podcast that aims to inspire you. Okay, this summer and beyond, and I hope you got inspired last season and season before. You would think, if you're tuning in again, and motivate. Okay, you was motivated, and that you will continue to have joyfulness and peace of mind. Don't you want peace of mind? Someone that don't want to have peace of mind, do not want to have peace of mind. They need to check that and find out why. And you need to always aim for that, because that helps you to be influenced to do the things that can get you to that state of mind and to sustain your success. That's my goal here. So let's go ahead and get this started. It's my summertime, and I hope you're having a good summer wherever you at, if it is summer. Okay. So I to talk about first what was my favorite episodes in season 2. By far, it was my redemption and forgiveness series in the month of April. If you have not checked that out, please do, and if you like it, share it. And I decided to do that and continue to do that going forward, because I personally struggled with that based on what I was taught and based on what I seen thereafter. When you forgive someone and it's just a round go about and your heart is attached and all of that drama. But I do recommend to do that, because that kind of branched off from my season 1 when I did episode 8 and episode 9, basically entitled Why Does Emotional Pain Comes Up Requiring Healing. It was part 1 and part 2. Part 1 was episode 8, and then part 2 was episode 9. And that's when I had just basically started the podcast here. And somebody told me to go and check iTunes out, just check it out. And I was just amazed of how it was popular. It was trending popular. Can you believe it? And it just showed me that people were getting the message, and they accepted it and took it in good stride, right? And had to be talking about it to somebody else. And that was the purpose that it came through me, to talk about that, on that journey, and to help those that it is a way out, to give them that mental peace. And that branched off to talk about forgiveness, and then season 2 to talk about redemption, because I feel that's part of forgiveness. We keep hearing the word forgiveness, but if you have been listening to my previous podcast episodes, I mainly talk about that's really at the end of the road. That's not really the first level that we should be focusing on, or even communicate to the victim, the person that's going through the challenge, right? And at any rate, so that was they were my favorite episodes by far. And then the next one I would say as well was when I talked about finding your joyfulness, finding the happiness that you can have at your place of work, which was kind of towards the last month of my season 2. That's in month of May. Please check that out as well. So by far, those were the ones that really stood out. And of course, I did a guest interview. I only did one. My goal is to, of course, do more, and I'm hoping now, since I'm planning to reduce how many I release every month, that I could do more interviews with other people, because that's fun. I did it with a good friend that worked with me in a previous project, so I'm very happy about that. So at any rate, let's move on to the next. And yeah, I guess I'm mostly talking about that season 2. So season 2, I really focus on self-healing, self-motivation, positive thinking. I know I had an episode prior to May that talked about business, whatever, about affirmations, and how affirmation is key to your success while you're on the journey. Because I think in life, when you don't affirm, when you don't make that statement, this is what I feel and what I know will be, and if it's not, so be it, I'm going to keep going. When you affirm and make statements like that, it makes you stronger, and it makes you to come back faster when life hits you. And we all going to have those ups and those downs, but it's the matter of coming out of those downs that come across, that you can't get out of it, right? So okay, so right here I got my important point that I want to talk about for season 2, which basically ties into that forgiveness. I did get some good reviews that people seem to like it. And right towards the end of season 2, now here in my notes to talk about that, it was amazing. I got people that continue to download those forgiveness episodes. And matter of fact, I'm glad that I'm talking about this now, because I had decided that I want to focus on, because I think every season I'm going to focus on forgiveness. I'm going to go back to what I have already did, and then then the next year I make another like month focusing on that, because I think that's how we get tricked up. That's how we get caught up in things or stay too long in relationships, or allow a relationship to return again, when we should just close that door and move on to a new beginning. And it measures our ability. Have we learned from it, or have the other person learned from it? We've all got to learn something from it. But I decided to focus on, because the last 2 years I focused on the perspective of the person that got hurt, and how in this society, and this is here in the States, that the victim is mostly talked about in terms of talk to, that you just got to get over it. But now I want to focus on, I kind of highlight that in one of the last episode, how can you forgive through the prism of redemption? Because I do believe, not in all cases, but in most cases, it does work. The life, I think, model, and I'm going to go to my faith here, and if you have a different faith, just bear with me. But I believe God intended that the redemption is part of that circle of life. And I look to the circle of life to be a symbol that what starts at one point comes back around. And whatever put in the circle, in that realm, has to be balanced out. What I'm getting to is my next focus, my next theme is to finally look at it in a perspective of the person has redeemed, the person has changed, the person has taken a look and did all that I talked about, that they did all that, right? And even if they say they didn't do it the way I said they do it, but they redeemed themselves, they moved on. People can change, right? I'm not saying everybody can, that's for sure, but people can. And when they do, the other person, which we're talking about now, the victim, how do they actually let go? What if that person don't want to let go and want to continue to bring up, drag that person that has changed their lives for the good, to do good going forward? But the victim doesn't want to, as I said before, accept it, or they can choose to forgive, because forgiveness is a choice, but they doing it in a way that is no growth for them or no growth for the other person. And actually the person that did the wrong has to choose to move on and have to let that person deal with it, right? And how the victim in itself actually re-victimize themselves. And it could be, to me, or at least I only say it could be, I think it's more deeper of them valuing themselves to realize that that situation doesn't define them. I think I did a podcast about that. I need to bring that up later, probably when I talk about my future season. But I want to basically do a series where we're looking through the prism of the victim and how you can process that. So it's basically a continuation of how you can forgive for the prism through redemption. It's basically expanding on that and really looking at when we need to forgive, when the person has redeemed, it's been a long time. Now you have to choose, and then you let it go. You don't keep reiterated, but you're in a position that you let it go, in the sense that you're not calling that person up, or you bringing it up that someone else can sit up there and throw rocks at them, and you did that. It's time to get basically on the journey, on the path, in a new direction, if you decide not to have that person in your life, right? I'm not saying you're never going to forget it, but I have seen some people that will use what someone did in the past as a lynch, as a rope, and won't let it go. And that's the part I think I want to focus on next year. Okay. All right. So, and my wisdom point I got here too, of overall, that redemptions keep coming up for season 2. When I look at my notes, side notes, what I want to talk about. And I guess I'm just talking about my wisdom point to share that I learned myself, because I'm learning too when I'm doing this podcast. Okay, so that's me just talking, and I'm just getting it out there. I think I got all this. We're constantly learning, right, to better ourselves. That's what humanity is all about at the end of the day. And I have here my wisdom pointers to share, is that redemption is a part of the mechanism of forgiveness. That is the destination, not starting, the part of not allowing the ability to learn and to move forward. So at any rate, and I got something here that I learned from season two, is that acceptance is more so on both, and acceptance not just in the prism of forgiveness or what have you, redemption, but acceptance of our life and where we are. And if we're not happy about it, to take ownership of that and you make strides to it. And in life, it's not about the intensity or the expedient that it is. You don't want to get trapped into that. It's about the journey, and it's about how you learn over the time. We're not perfect. We make mistakes. We all make mistakes. We all not perfect. You know what I mean? But we make the adjustments and using a wrench to turn a screw to get the right fit at that particular time, right, in our lives. So by far, season two let me explore all of that and to share that with you, and I hope you enjoyed it as well. So I do have some strategies that I picked up or remembered in season two. Overall tips talked about getting to the root, and when you get to the root of things, you get a better perspective. So that was my overall strategy to succeed. If I had to wrap it all up in a nice bow, present into a present, and then put a bow on it for season two, that's the takeaway for your strategy to succeed in season two, was to take this stride of life, right? And figuring out and learning the root of things that can give you a better perspective. So with that, it's just like a farmer, right? It takes time to get into those roots and get those weeds out. And as long as you know you in action, doing something, right? I know I mentioned, at least in my thing, about my task to dusk to dawn, and I have a note here to say for this summer, if you do have a summer or whatever, you going on vacation, aim to take the time to look beyond of something not serving you in the good of light while you on your journey of life, and you get some good light of moments, so you do good things what you like to do. And those are your memories that I like to say, when all else fails, you get a pen and paper and you write down the things that brings you to smile. Yeah. So also I want to roll out in this is that your motivational takeaway I want to share with that I have done on all my podcasts, is that you need to claim your worth. You need to highlight your value, that you do matter in life. And I think I'm talking ahead of myself for my future seasons, is have a month talking about how we claim our worth, because that's important. Because sometimes we are in relationships or we're around people that don't value that, and so there's the stress. I want to do a podcast about stress too, maybe get someone in to talk about that as well, a different way than what I have been. And once we value our worth, we highlight our value. Once we highlight our value, not in the prism of being self-absorbed, but in the prism of nurturing, that we realize that we do matter. We fight back, and that could be in our workplace or in the relationships that we have with other people. That could be friends, family, whoever. And that's a big deal, because I had to learn that years ago, and I am so much in a better place. So yeah, so overall I enjoyed season two. Definitely looking forward to do more interviews with guests, and I'm looking forward to when things happen, I just want to talk about it. So anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this podcast, please share it, and I'm looking forward for season. All right, thank you. And my next episode will be released this summer on July 15th, Monday. And that's where I will be just kind of talking about the best. I will recap some of the best episodes. I'm going to go more in detail of them. I have let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have 7 I want to kind of get more into. I kind of touched on it a bit today, but I'm really going to get into it next month. And those are 7 that I got here. And talk about it. Go on and share that with you more in detail, different ones that I like as the best ones. But and then in August 15th, that's my next one. Yeah, so we have July the 15th, and then we have the next one is August. That'd be August the 12th, I believe, there. But at any rate, and that's where I'm also just talking about the future plans for season 3. So talk to you soon. Thank you. All right, have a great day. And thank you for everybody for buying my book. I see you're purchasing my Corporate America book. Thank you. And it does help, and it does shows that people are listening to me and taking my advice and using this knowledge that I'm sharing, and they're giving their support by making the effort. I like when I see people doing things. I break that down. They're making an effort, taking the time, thinking about what I said, implementing it, putting it in action, reading it, and getting what I was motivated by spirit to write that book and they're getting the message. So I'm completing what I like to say, the circle of life. That's powerful. And I want to say thank you for being part of that circle and reinforcing my purpose. And I am thankful. Thank you so much for purchasing my book, and I'll talk to you soon. Happy summer.